From the moment I was born, I knew I deserved the best. In my modest adoptive family, they called it princess syndrome. My adoptive mother saved for months to buy a silk blouse, then locked it away. I'd wear it secretly under my uniform. When caught, I'd lose dinner, so I'd find her hidden snacks and eat them all. My adoptive father claimed he couldn't afford tutoring, yet kept expensive liquor and cigarettes. I took some and sold them to the corner store owner. With the money, I enrolled in the best prep course and bought imported stationery. Once, my grandmother hid 2 chicken drumsticks for her biological grandson. At the table, I calmly took both for myself. I study the hardest, I said. I need the nutrition. They called me selfish, ungrateful, a princess without the pedigree. I never argued. Then, on my 18th birthday, a black Maybach arrived outside our old apartment. My real parents, the wealthy Sterlings, had found me. Watching the shock and fear on my adoptive family's faces, I felt completely calm. It wasn't princess syndrome. I was a real princess all along. Sliding into the back of the Maybach, I felt no unease. Seated next to me was the girl the Sterling family had raised for 18 years as their own, Annabelle. You must be Vivian, she said, her voice soft. It must have been so difficult for you all these years. She took my hand. Hers was soft and delicate. Mine had a thin layer of calluses from years of writing. I didn't answer her question about difficulty. Instead, I gently pulled my hand away and traced the edge of the window frame. This car is due for a service, I said calmly. The driver's hands twitched on the wheel, and the car swerved almost imperceptibly. My mother, Eleanor, turned from the front seat to look at me, her eyes wide with surprise. Annabelle's smile froze. What did you say, Vivian? I said. This car is due for a service, I repeated. I pointed to an air vent. The air filter needs changing, too. I can smell fine dust in the air. A dead silence fell over the car. My father, Richard Sterling, sitting in the passenger seat, looked at me properly for the first time in the rearview mirror. His eyes were sharp as a hawk's, filled with scrutiny and intrigue. Annabelle's face cycled through shades of pink and white. She had likely expected a country mouse, either timid and stuttering or gaudy and materialistic. She had a whole script of condescending comforts prepared, and I had just rendered it all useless with one quiet observation. She forced a laugh. You know so much, Vivian. Unlike me, I just know how to ride in a car. That's all right. You can learn, I replied, looking her directly in the eye. My tone was sincere. After all, representing the Sterling family is a heavy responsibility. A basic understanding of luxury goods is essential. You can't just recognize a brand name. That's how people mistake you for new money. A choked chuckle escaped the driver. A sharp glare from Richard in the mirror silenced him instantly. Annabelle's smile completely vanished. My mother, Eleanor, finally spoke, her voice laced with a complex emotion. Vivian, dear, how do you know all this? If you want to know something, there are always ways to find out, I answered, my tone light. I didn't tell them that with the money from my adoptive father's secret stash, a small portion that wasn't spent on tutoring went to buying every fashion, automotive, and financial magazine I could get my hands on. The Sterling mansion was perched atop Silvercrest Peak, a breathtaking display of wealth and power. The butler and a line of staff were already waiting at the entrance. Welcome home, Miss Sterling, they chorused. I accepted their greeting without flinching. Behind me, Annabelle's nails were digging so hard into her palms they nearly drew blood. For 18 years, that title had been hers. The welcome home dinner was a lavish affair. Eleanor led me into a walk-in closet with 3 walls lined with haute couture gowns and designer bags. Vivian, this is all for you. Pick whatever you like. Annabelle followed us in. Mother, she said sweetly, Vivian just got here. She might not be used to such formal clothes. I have some simpler dresses in my closet. Perhaps she'd like to try one of those first? She reached for my arm. I sidestepped her touch, my gaze sweeping over the magnificent gowns. From a corner, I pulled out a simple, elegant white dress. This one, I said. Eleanor paused. But Vivian, that's so plain. It was meant for everyday wear. It's fine. I prefer simple. A flicker of triumph crossed Annabelle's eyes. Yes, mother, whatever makes Vivian happy. Simple is more approachable. Anyway, I met her fake smile with a cold one of my own. The ballroom was a galaxy of shimmering lights and expensive perfume. I stood by Richard and Eleanor's side in my simple white dress. Annabelle, in a frothy pink Dior gown, moved like a proud peacock among her flock of friends. It wasn't long before they descended upon me. The leader of the pack, a girl named Mina, was Annabelle's chief sycophant. She looked me up and down with an exaggerated laugh. Annabelle, is this really your long-lost sister from the countryside? She looked so quaint. The others giggled, their laughter dripping with unconcealed superiority. Annabelle feigned annoyance. Mina, don't be rude. This is my sister. Then she turned to me, her face a mask of apology. Vivian, don't mind her. She just says whatever she thinks. Before I could reply, another girl chimed in. Annabelle, you're just too nice. So, Vivian, where did you live before? Was it like one of those places they do fundraisers for on TV? The laughter grew louder. I saw my father, Richard, across the room, deep in conversation with several business tycoons. He glanced over, a slight frown on his face, but made no move to intervene. He was testing me. I took a deep breath and smiled, a warm, harmless expression. Yes, the place I grew up was small and run down. Nothing like this. I admitted it freely, my voice quiet but clear enough for everyone to hear. The smirks on their faces widened. Then, I changed my tone. But because of that, I learned to appreciate things. Unlike some people, who are born in Rome but treat it like their personal playground, squandering everything without a second thought. My gaze rested gently on Annabelle. Her smile froze. Mina's face darkened. What's that supposed to mean? Who are you talking about? I'm not talking about anyone, I said, still smiling. I'm just stating facts. For instance, I know my father is in talks with Mr. Lin of Lin Corp, a project vital to Sterling Group's next 5 years. I also know that Mr. Davies's company stock has been unstable and he's in desperate need of a capital injection. And I know that Mr. Cole's son, I gestured to a young man in their group, lost an an 8-figure sum in Macau last month and still hasn't told his family. My voice was calm, but with each sentence, the air grew colder. The cool air's face turned sheet white. Mina and her friends were no longer laughing. They stared at me as if I were some kind of monster. Before I arrived, I had spent the afternoon with the butler, memorizing the portfolio he had prepared on every single guest attending that night. I walked over to the utterly stunned Annabelle and, with a small smile, straightened a crease in her gown. Sister, thank you for this lovely party. But as daughters of the Sterling family, our words and actions reflect on our name. Joking with friends is one thing, but if a few harmless jokes were to jeopardize father's business deals, or worse, expose a friend's private struggles, that wouldn't be very wise, would it? After all, I said, my voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, we can't just wear the pretty dresses the family provides without doing anything to benefit the family, can we? My words were soft, but they landed like a slap across her face. She wanted to make a fool of me, so I showed everyone who the real fool was, the one who knew nothing but parties and pleasure, contributing nothing to the family that gave her everything. The mood of the party shifted. The group that had been mocking me now watched me with a new expression, a mixture of fear and curiosity. Richard Sterling walked toward me, a glass of wine in his hand. He studied me for a long moment, then addressed the nearby guests. Everyone, this is my daughter, Vivian. She's just returned home and is still learning the ropes. Please excuse her if she seems a bit rough around the edges. His words were apologetic, but his face held no apology at all. In fact, there was a glimmer of pride in his eyes. I knew I had passed the first test. Annabelle's face was a storm of emotions. She forced a smile and linked her arm through mine, a picture of sisterly affection. Yes, my sister is a quick learner. I'm sure the two of us will be a great help to father in the future. I smiled and let her cling to me. The game had just begun. Halfway through the party, it was time to cut the cake. A massive, three-tiered creation was wheeled out. Richard gave a short speech welcoming me home, thanking the guests, the usual pleasantries. Then, he handed me the cake knife. Vivian, you cut the first slice. As I reached for it, under the watchful eyes of every guest, Annabelle suddenly cried out. Oh, she stumbled as if losing her balance, and the full glass of champagne in her hand flew directly at me.